Picture this. It's a Tuesday night. You're, completely exhausted from a long day,
We've all been there.
right? And you just tell your phone, hey, find me a good travel backpack for my trip to Europe next month. Make sure it's under 150 euros. Check if the warranty covers international travel. And if it does, just, buy it for me so it's here by Friday.
Just a completely hands-off request.
Exactly. Then you plug in your phone and you just go to sleep. You don't scroll through pages of reviews. You don't squint at the fine print on return policies. You don't even pull out your credit card or double-click to authorize a payment.
And just trusting the machine.
Yeah, you literally just go to sleep, completely trusting that an AI agent is out there navigating the internet, negotiating terms, and frankly, spending your hard-earned money.
I mean, it's the ultimate sci-fi convenience, isn't it? We've been talking about this fantasy for years, treating it as some distant milestone on the horizon.
But here we are. It is July 2026, and this fantasy is actually becoming reality right now.
It really is.
Except, to make that seamless magic happen for you, the entire architecture of the internet is currently being ripped apart and rebuilt behind the scenes.
Because as it turns out, letting an AI loose with your credit card is an absolute architectural nightmare for the merchants trying to sell you things.
It's a mess, and that is the mission of today's deep dive. We're exploring the hidden plumbing being laid down across the digital world to prevent this new era of shopping from turning into utter chaos.
It is a profound structural crisis for e-commerce, honestly.
And we have an incredibly detailed roadmap for this journey today. We are going deep into a technical guide published just this month, July 2026, by Dimitrios S. Spyros.
A fantastic piece of work.
Yeah, titled The Agentic Commerce Blueprint, Orchestrating the E-Commerce Stack for AI Agents. It features technical reviews by Vinicius Pereira and Sergei Parfenov.
And honestly, it is a masterclass in how you actually wire a digital storefront to talk safely to an artificial intelligence.
Okay, so let's unpack this. Because we're not just talking about an AI recommending a nice sweater to you anymore. We are moving from AI chatbots to AI shoppers.
That distinction is the foundation of everything we're about to discuss today. The blueprint draws a very sharp dividing line between what we've had for the last few years, which is just AI in retail, and what is happening now.
Which they call agentic commerce.
Right. Think about AI in retail. It is entirely advisory. It's a recommendation engine on a homepage. It's a helpful little chatbot in the corner of your screen that helps you locate a product or, summarizes customer reviews.
But at the end of the day, you, the human being, are the one interpreting that advice.
Exactly. You evaluate it, and you physically click Add to Cart. Agentic commerce introduces a completely different dynamic. It introduces a strong operational role for software agents.
Meaning they aren't just giving advice, they are taking action.
Precisely. We're talking about delegated authority. The agent is executing commercial workflows on your behalf.
It's acting as your proxy.
Right. It is negotiating prices, preparing checkouts, evaluating complex legal policies, and actually moving your money without a human in the loop at the moment of execution.
Which, sounds amazing for you and me as buyers, until you look under the hood and realize that the internet was never built for that kind of interaction.
Not even a little bit.
To understand why we need this massive new blueprint, we first have to understand why the existing e-commerce internet is fundamentally broken for AI agents. The source material points to something called the human interpretation buffer.
Yes. The human interpretation buffer is essentially the invisible glue holding current e-commerce together.
How so?
Well, existing commerce systems are entirely built around human intuition. When you shop online, the digital system actually leaves a lot of informational gaps.
Because it assumes a human is looking at the screen.
Exactly. It relies on your human brain to fill those gaps in automatically. You read a product page, you glance at a return policy, you see an in-stock flag, and you intuitively synthesize all that information into a cohesive understanding of the transaction.
So if an inventory database says a product is active, a human doesn't just blindly buy it. They read the context around it.
Right. But an AI doesn't have that intuition.
Wait, I want to push back on this a little bit to make sure I really understand. Why can't the AI just read the website like I do?
It's a common question.
It's all just text and code, right?
Yeah.
If an AI can pass the bar exam, surely it can read a Shopify product page and figure out if a shirt is in stock.
You would think so. But reading text and understanding commercial implications are two wildly different capabilities. Let's look at how a system exposes data.
Okay.
A database might have a Boolean flag, a simple true or false, for a field called eyes available. For a human, that flag translates to a green button on a website that says add to cart.
Right. I see the green button. I know I can buy it.
But the human also sees the red banner at the top of the site that says no shipping to the EU, or the text in the description saying final sale. The human combines the green button with the text to form a commercial decision.
Oh, I see.
An AI agent, especially one interacting via an API or scraping a feed, sees is available.
Sure.
True. And interprets that as an absolute unconditional green light to execute a transaction.
It just zeroes in on the data point. It's like sending a toddler to the grocery store with your credit card.
That is a phenomenal analogy.
Like if I see a sign at the store that says apples, final sale, my brain instantly processes a ton of legal and commercial meaning. I know I can't return those apples. I know they might be slightly bruised or overripe.
You understand the risk.
Exactly. But the toddler, they don't know what final sale means or what a return policy even is. They just see apples, grab them, and swipe the card.
And an AI agent scraping a traditional website is basically that toddler. It sees the word active and assumes it means ready for checkout.
Wow. That is actually terrifying from a merchant's perspective.
It is, and what's fascinating here is that it flips the tech industry's initial fear about AI on its head.
What do you mean?
Well, for years, the primary concern was hallucination, the idea that the AI would just make things up.
Right, like inventing a fake court case or something.
Exactly. But this blueprint argues that hallucination isn't the only risk, or even the deepest risk when it comes to commerce. The deeper risk is that our commerce stacks simply don't encode meaning safely.
They just spit out raw data.
Yes. If an AI summarizes a product, or compares it, or requests a checkout, it turns raw informational data into direct automated action. If the platform doesn't provide what the blueprint calls decision-grade commercial meaning, the AI is essentially operating blind.
Even if it's reading the data perfectly. It's taking the data too literally without the commercial context.
Precisely.
And we are seeing the fallout of this collision happen in real time right now across the tech landscape. The source material details this massive platform shift that has just exploded since late 2025.
It's everywhere.
It's not just one company trying to figure this out, it's everybody. We have OpenAI and Stripe pushing the Agentic Commerce Protocol, or ACP. We have Google pushing AP2, the Agent Payments Protocol, which is entirely focused on how AI agents securely handle the actual movement of money.
A huge piece of the puzzle.
Then Shopify and Google co-developed UCP, the Universal Commerce Protocol. And then you have the traditional financial giants, MasterCard, Visa, PayPal, all launching their own agent-ready payment architectures. It's an absolute gold rush to build the rails for this new economy.
It is a gold rush. But if we connect this to the bigger picture, it is a highly fragmented one. You have all these tech giants launching distinct protocols.
And they don't necessarily talk to each other perfectly.
No, they don't. You have agent-facing shopping surfaces, separate payment mandates, catalog synchronization tools, and major commerce clouds like Adobe and Salesforce all trying to dictate how agents should interact with stores.
So it's just chaos.
The critical architectural takeaway from the blueprint is that this fragmentation means a single external protocol is never going to solve the problem for a merchant.
Right, because if I'm running, say, a mid-sized sporting goods business, I can't just plug in OpenAI's protocol and Google's protocol and Shopify's protocol and just hope they all perfectly interpret my store's unique return policies or seasonal discounts.
You absolutely cannot. No single external surface, whether it's ChatGPT or a Google Assistant, owns the full commercial decision of your business.
The merchant has to own it.
The merchant's own internal stack needs an authoritative layer to coordinate the truth. Without that internal coordination, you suffer from semantic drift.
Semantic drift. What does that actually look like in practice?
Imagine a scenario where a product feed exporter looks at your database and interprets a product as available based on that simple isActive catalog flag we talked about earlier.
Okay. The toddler sees the apples.
Right. So it tells Google the item is ready to buy. But simultaneously, your checkout adapter looks at the same product but factors in the user's location and realizes it can't be shipped there.
Oh, no.
And meanwhile, the payment adapter is just looking to see if the AI handed it a valid payment token.
So nobody is on the same page.
Suddenly, the AI on the front end is getting wildly conflicting answers. Google thinks it can buy it, the checkout system rejects it, and the payment gateway is sitting there confused.
Which brings us to the absolute core of Spirus's blueprint. Because AI can't intuitively interpret messy human websites, and because all these tech giants are launching fragmented protocols, Merchants have to build a centralized nervous system.
Yes.
The blueprint calls this the decision spine.
The decision spine is a semantic responsibility model. Now, to be clear for the developers listening, it's not necessarily a rigid map of microservices.
You don't have to spin up 10 new servers.
Exactly. You don't have to go out and build separate new infrastructure just to host the spine. Rather, it is a map of where different types of commercial meaning must be definitively owned and resolved.
Okay.
The goal of the spine is to bridge that dangerous gap we just talked about, moving from raw operational data to actual actionable truth.
Okay, so let's trace the anatomy of this spine, because it starts at the very top with something called commercial truth.
The foundation.
But I really need you to break this down for me, because at first glance, raw data and commercial truth sound like the exact same thing.
They often get confused.
Like if a database says a price is $50, isn't that the truth?
That is the raw operational data. It exists as a record in a database, perhaps in your enterprise resource planning system or your PM.
Okay.
But that raw data doesn't tell an AI agent the whole story. Let's say the system says a product is active and has a price of EUR 129.
Seems simple enough.
That raw data doesn't tell you if that price applies exclusively to a wholesale business buyer in France, or if it's eligible for a specific holiday promotion.
Oh, I see. Context is missing.
Or, crucially, if the inventory count attached to that item is actually fresh, or if it's delayed by a 3-hour batch sync from a third-party warehouse.
Oh, wow. So the AI might think it's buying a $50 item that's in stock, but it's actually looking at a wholesale price for an item that sold out 2 hours ago because the warehouse sync hasn't run yet.
Yeah, exactly the problem. Commercial truth, as defined by the decision spine, is the platform's selected, reliable, source-backed facts for a specific context.
It wraps the data in meaning.
It takes the raw data and wraps it in meaning. It carries provenance.
Meaning, where did this fact come from?
Yes, it carries scope. Who does this price actually apply to? And it carries freshness. Is this data too old to be trusted for a real-time purchase right now?
So it's heavily validated.
The spine guarantees that when an AI asks about a product, it isn't just handed a database dump, it is handed a verified commercial fact.
Here's where it gets really interesting to me. After we establish commercial truth, the spine moves down to a layer called policy facts.
This is a huge shift.
Because think about your average e-commerce website right now. Where do the policies live? The return policy, the warranty info, the shipping restrictions.
Hidden away.
They are almost always just massive blocks of text hidden in a footer link. They are PDFs or CMS web pages written by lawyers.
Which is a massive vulnerability for agentic commerce. Policy content is written exclusively for humans.
Right.
A human can read a paragraph that says, no returns on final sale items or international shipments, and understand how it applies to the cart they are currently building.
We can connect the dots.
An AI agent cannot reliably parse a PDF to determine legal standing during a millisecond transaction. Therefore, an AI agent needs that text translated into machine-readable facts.
And the blueprint introduces two vital concepts to solve this: applicability and quotability.
Yes.
Now, applicability makes intuitive sense. Does this specific rule actually apply to what the AI is trying to do? If the AI is buying a travel backpack, does the electronics return policy apply? No.
Very straightforward.
But quotability, this is a wild concept to me.
It is perhaps the most nuanced part of the policy layer. Applicability tells the system if a policy governs a transaction, but quotability asks, is the platform prepared to let an external AI agent quote or summarize this policy to the human buyer?
Wait, why wouldn't it be? I mean, if the policy's in the database, shouldn't the AI be allowed to explain it to me?
Consider the risk. What if the policy fact is currently missing from the database for a specific new product category? Or what if the wording is legally ambiguous?
Okay.
You do not want a generative AI agent to look at an ambiguous policy and just generate a plausible-sounding, friendly summary.
Because it wants to be helpful.
Exactly.
Yeah.
The AI might tell the buyer, don't worry, you can easily return this within 30 days. When in reality, the item is a custom-made piece of furniture with a strict no-return policy.
Oh my gosh. And if the AI hallucinated that on my behalf?
You, the merchant, might be legally bound to honor it.
Because my agent made a promise to the customer.
Precisely. Quotability allows the decision spine to say, this policy is blocked from being quoted. It physically prevents the AI from making claims about certain policies until a human operator steps in to verify the facts.
That is a massive paradigm shift. You are literally turning legal jargon into active, programmable decision infrastructure.
It's mandatory for legal safety.
And that flows perfectly into the next layer of the spine: action-specific eligibility.
I feel like this section of the blueprint is basically announcing the death of the standard available button.
It necessitates the death of it, really. In a human-centric online store, a product is generally either available or unavailable. It's a simple binary state.
Make a light switch.
Right. But in agentic commerce, available is an incredibly dangerous, overly broad concept. Because an autonomous agent can take many different types of actions, each with different legal and commercial thresholds.
Okay, break that down for me. If a product is in the catalog, what else is there to do besides buy it?
Think about the user journey. Can the agent discover the product in a search? Can it compare the product against a competitor's item?
Okay. Yeah.
Can it quote the warranty policy? Can it add the item to a cart? Can it prepare a formal checkout state? Can it actually delegate the final payment? These are all distinct actions. Oh, wow. So a product could be available to look at, but blocked to actually buy, or even blocked to just talk about if the AI doesn't have the legal warranty data attached to it yet.
Precisely. The blueprint lists those specific actions. Discover, compare, quote, policy, add to cart, prepare checkout, delegate payment, show generated claim, and explain.
That's a lot of actions.
And for each one of those individual actions, the decision spine must evaluate the context and return a specific granular result. It can't just be true or false. It has to be allowed, blocked, requires revalidation, requires review, or requires confirmation.
It's so granular, but I mean, is it really necessary to check every single action? Isn't that a ton of overhead for the system?
Consider the alternative, which the author calls optimistic readiness.
Optimistic readiness.
This is the failure mode of the current internet. This is where a product feed tells an AI agent, hey, this item is active in the catalog, it's ready for checkout.
The toddler seeing the apples again?
Right. The AI, being optimistic, trusts that feed. It tells you, the buyer, that it can buy the item. It builds the cart, it prepares the payment, and then it crashes downstream at the payment gateway.
Because of some hidden blocker.
Because it turns out the inventory was actually stale, or the shipping policy didn't cover your specific zip code. Optimistic readiness leads to broken promises.
And angry customers.
Exactly. The spine forces the system to evaluate eligibility per specific action before making any promises to the agent.
Okay, so let's summarize where we are, just so I can wrap my head around this. We've established commercial truth, separating facts from raw data.
Yes.
We've translated human legal policies into machine-readable facts with applicability and quotability. And we know exactly what specific actions are eligible.
We have the foundation.
So we are now entering what the blueprint treats as the real danger zones of the spine.
The mutation layers.
Right. This is the moment the AI tries to actually mutate the state of the world, when it tries to spend your money, or when it tries to make a factual claim to you, the human buyer. And to do this safely, the blueprint makes a massive distinction between eligibility and authority.
This is a critical separation, and it's where many early agentic systems fail.
How so?
Eligibility asks a fundamental question about the product. Can this item be bought in this current context?
Right.
Authority asks a completely different question about the actor. Can this specific agent buy it for this specific buyer?
Ah, I see.
Just because a cart is perfectly valid, fully in stock, and ready for checkout does not mean the AI agent knocking on the door has the permission to actually execute the payment.
Right. Like, I might have told my AI assistant, you are authorized to buy travel gear for my trip, but keep it under 150 euros.
Exactly.
If the AI finds a gorgeous travel jacket for 200 euros, the jacket itself is fully eligible for purchase. The store is perfectly happy to sell it, but my AI lacks the authority to buy it on my behalf.
That is the perfect distinction. And this dual check system ties deeply into how the blueprint views the checkout process itself.
Because checkout is where it all comes together.
The author argues that checkout can no longer just be a loose collection of API endpoints that an agent pings whenever it wants. Checkout must be treated as a strict mutation boundary. It must be modeled internally as a state machine.
Okay, a state machine. I'm going to need you to put on your professor hat for a second. What does that actually mean in the context of a shopping cart?
A state machine is a system that can only exist in one specific predefined state at a time, and it can only transition between states based on strict predefined rules.
Okay.
Think of a physical lock. It has states, locked or unlocked. You can be partially locked.
Right.
For a checkout, the states might be Created, requires address, requires payment authorized, order submitted, completed, or declined.
Okay, so why does it matter if we force the checkout into these rigid states?
Yeah.
Why not just let the AI update whatever it wants?
Because it prevents protocol adapters from making hidden changes.
Protocol adapters.
Yes, a protocol adapter is the software connecting your store to, say, Google's AP2 or OpenAI's ACP. If checkout isn't a state machine, an adapter might try to be helpful and take shortcuts.
Like what?
It might say, oh, the AI provided a payment token, let's just skip the address check and force the cart to complete.
Oh, wow. Bypassing the rules.
You lose total control of your commercial rules. The blueprint mandates that external adapters cannot manipulate the cart state locally. They must translate the AI's external request into a canonical checkout operation, hand it to the decision spine, and let the merchant's internal state machine dictate if that transition is legally and commercially allowed.
It's about maintaining absolute sovereignty over your own checkout process, regardless of which tech giant's AI is trying to buy something.
Exactly. You are the merchant. You set the rules.
Which brings us to the actual movement of money. Delegated payment. The blueprint mentions that a payment token, like a saved credit card, is not enough. And it actually references some fascinating July 2026 research here about the Google AP2 protocol papers by Debbie and Zhu and Lan et al.
Groundbreaking research, honestly.
They looked into replay risks and context-binding failures. What exactly is token overreach?
Token overreach is a deeply dangerous assumption. It's the assumption that because an AI agent holds a valid payment token or a pre-authorized mandate from a buyer, it is unconditionally allowed to spend that money.
Meaning the system just blindly trusts the token.
The research points out a massive vulnerability in how early protocols handled this. Let's say an agent has a token authorizing it to buy a shopping cart for exactly 100 euros.
Okay, simple enough.
But what if, right before the agent executes the payment, the store system calculates the final shipping cost based on the buyer's address, or a temporary promotional discount expires in that exact millisecond and the total is now 110 euros? Or what if, in that same millisecond, the inventory goes stale?
If the payment gateway is only programmed to check, is this token valid? It's going to see a valid token and just process the 110 euros. It's going to overcharge me by 10 euros without my permission, or it's going to buy an item that's out of stock.
That's the exact failure mode. The authority to pay must be inextricably bound to the context.
It has to know what it's paying for.
It must be bound to a specific mandate, a specific cart snapshot, a specific final amount, and crucially, a valid checkout state at the exact moment of execution.
No blind checks.
Payment authority cannot bypass commercial validity. If the underlying checkout state has been invalidated because the price changed or the shipping failed, the payment attempt must be blocked by the spine, regardless of whether the AI's token itself is technically active and fully funded.
That makes total sense. You're binding the money to the specific reality of the cart, not just handing the AI a blank signed check and hoping it does the right thing. Okay, so that protects the money. But the next danger zone in the spine protects the truth. The blueprint calls this generated claim projection state.
This is a vital area for liability.
This is a wild concept to me. The idea that AI-generated text, like a product summary or a chat message explaining a policy, is treated as a derived commercial artifact.
It is wild, but if you think about it, it's essential. When an AI assistant generates a summary for you saying, this backpack is perfect for your trip, it fits carry-on requirements, and it's easy to return, that text isn't just helpful banter.
Right, it feels like it, but it's not.
In the context of agentic commerce, it is a commercial claim that influences a purchase decision. But that generated claim is not the source truth. It was derived from underlying facts, the dimensions in the database, the return policy document.
So if the underlying return policy changes an hour later, or if the manufacturer updates the backpack dimensions, that generated text sitting in my chat history is now a lie.
Exactly. And that requires strict dependency tracking. The blueprint dictates that generated claims cannot just be fired off and forgotten. They must be managed as records with life cycles.
They have an expiration date.
They depend on source facts. If a source fact like inventory freshness or policy applicability changes, the generated claim that relied on it must be invalidated, blocked, or flagged for review.
I want to bring in an analogy here because the blueprint uses a term that really struck me, paint.
Ah, yes, taint.
It talks about inherited refusal state, and it honestly sounds exactly like money laundering, but for AI text.
How do you mean? Expand on that.
Well, let's say the decision spine refuses to let the AI quote the return policy because the policy is missing for international buyers.
Okay.
The AI knows it can't quote it directly. But LLMs are designed to be helpful, right? They want to please the user.
Do.
So it shouldn't be able to just rephrase the denial into a positive-sounding summary like, hey, don't worry, returns are handled on a case-by-case basis. That's laundering a refused claim through derived, friendly wording to make unsafe text appear clean to the buyer.
That is a perfect analogy. You are laundering refused data through an LLM's natural language capabilities. And this raises an incredibly important question for developers and auditors.
Which is?
How do we actually prove what the AI was allowed to say at the time it said it?
Because the text changes so fluidly.
The blueprint, drawing heavily on review feedback from Sergey Parfenov, outlines 7 axes of generated claims that must be strictly tracked by the system.
I think we need to run through those 7 axes, because this feels like the absolute core of how you keep an autonomous AI honest and legally compliant. Walk me through them.
Absolutely. The spine must track these 7 dimensions for every generated claim. First is source. Did the original facts used to generate this claim pass validation?
Okay, so making sure the foundation is solid.
Second is freshness. Are those underlying facts still up to date right now, or are they stale?
Because a fresh claim on stale data is a bad claim.
Precisely. Third is scope. Does this specific claim apply to the current buyer profile and geographic region?
So making sure a claim about, say, free shipping isn't shown to someone in a country where you don't offer it.
Exactly. Fourth is surface. Is this claim approved to be shown on a casual mobile app chat versus a strict formal protocol feed?
Oh, because the context of where you read it matters.
Yes. Fifth is use. Is this text meant to be a marketing product description, or is it a legal explanation?
Which carry very different liabilities. If marketing says it lasts forever, that's puffery. If legal says it, that's a lifetime warranty.
Exactly. You must tag the use case. Sixth is the payload. This is the actual computed text string itself, the words the AI chose.
The literal output.
And finally, seventh is taint. This is the inherited refusal we just discussed. If any upstream fact was refused or blocked by the spine, that taint must travel mathematically with the derived claim.
So a downstream system cannot quietly ignore the block and show the text anyway.
Right. The taint stops it at the door.
It's treating AI-generated text like a tamper-evident package, not just a reusable string of words. You can't just copy-paste an AI's output from one screen to another.
No, you cannot.
You have to pass it through this rigorous gate that checks all 7 of those axes every single time you want to display it to a user.
That's the exact intention. The text itself is always downstream of its evidence. In agentic commerce, facts should never depend on claims. Claims must always depend on facts.
Okay, so take a breath. We've built this incredible, rigorous internal decision spine. We have established commercial truth, mapped out policy facts, defined action eligibility, set strict authority bounds, locked down checkout states, bounded our payments to reality, and taint-tracked all our AI claims.
It is a massive amount of intricate internal logic happening in milliseconds.
It really is.
Yeah.
But here's the ultimate problem. Eventually, this internal merchant system has to actually talk to the outside world.
The handover.
Right. It has to hand this final yes or no decision over to ChatGPT or a Google agent or a smart wallet. How do we safely hand over this highly complex decision without the external AI misinterpreting it, or worse, a malicious actor tampering with it?
You seal it in an envelope, specifically what the blueprint calls the canonical decision envelope.
Canonical decision envelope.
This is the ultimate output of the decision spine. If the spine is the brain, the envelope is the physical letter it writes to the outside world. It is the implementation shape of this entire architecture.
It sounds highly classified, like something a courier handcuffed to their wrist in a spy movie.
It functions exactly like that. It is a cryptographically secured data package that contains the platform's canonical final answer for a requested action.
So it's not just a quick API ping.
No, it's not just a simple API response returning a few true or false booleans. It carries the requested action, the exact evaluated context of the cart, the definitive decision result, any specific blocker codes, and the cryptographic proof that this decision was made by the authoritative spine and hasn't been altered by anyone in transit.
Okay, let's break down the cryptography, because this is where the blueprint gets incredibly specific and honestly a little dense for me. I need an ELI5. Explain it like I'm 5.
We can do that.
From what I read, it doesn't just hash the whole envelope once. It uses a very deliberate structure of 3 different hashes: the input dependency hash, the result hash, and the decision hash. First of all, what exactly is a hash doing here, and why split it into 3?
Let's start with the hash itself. A cryptographic hash function takes any amount of data, a single word or an entire shopping cart context, and runs it through an algorithm to produce a unique, fixed-length string of characters.
A digital fingerprint.
Exactly, a digital fingerprint. If you change even a single comma in the original data, the resulting fingerprint changes completely. It is a way to mathematically prove that data has not been tampered with.
Okay, so it's a tamper-proof seal.
Yeah.
But why do we need 3 of them on one envelope? That feels redundant.
Because you need to distinguish mathematically between what was asked and what was answered.
Oh, yeah.
The input dependency hash protects the inputs. It secures the declared surface, the requested actions, say, delegate payment, the actor, the subject, the timestamps, and the evidence pins. It locks down the context of the question the AI asks.
So if a hacker intercepts the envelope, or a rogue AI tries to be clever and changes its original request from buy this €10 item to buy this €1,000 item, the input hash breaks.
And the system instantly knows the question was altered.
Got it.
Then you have the second seal, the result hash. This protects the computed outcome. It secures the computed eligibility, the authority, the checkout state, the payment dispatch decision, the generated claim state, and the specific reason codes for why an action was allowed or blocked by the spine.
So if the input question remains identical, but the merchant's internal business logic changes, maybe a manager just deployed a new rule that blocks international shipping for that item, the result hash changes.
Yes.
This proves the outcome is different, even though the AI asked the exact same question.
That's the exact mechanism.
Yeah.
And finally, the third seal, the decision hash, wraps everything together. It hashes the contract version, the input hash, and the result hash into one master fingerprint.
Why wrap it all again?
This total separation means that if something fails or is disputed months later, an auditor can look at the envelope and know exactly what changed. Did the inputs drift, or did our internal rules yield a different result? It creates a perfect audit trail.
And it solves a major operational headache that the blueprint calls freshness horizons. This is a brilliant mechanic.
It is essential for performance.
The envelope contains fields called valid until and stale after. Because think about the reality of shopping. If an AI is holding a decision envelope that says, yes, you can buy this backpack for €129, how does it know if that price is still good 10 minutes later?
It doesn't.
Right. And it doesn't want to constantly ping the merchant server every 5 seconds asking, is the price still good? Is the inventory still there? That would crash the server.
And it creates massive latency. So the envelope has a self-destruct timer built in. When the decision spine evaluates all the dependencies, the price, the inventory count, the policy status, it finds the single earliest expiring component.
Oh, that's smart.
If the price is good for a day, but the inventory syncs every 15 minutes, the spine derives the valid until and stale after horizons conservatively from that 15-minute inventory expiry.
So the whole envelope inherits the shortest lifespan.
Yes. This allows a feed, or a protocol adapter, to confidently self-expire its own projections locally. It knows exactly when it needs to go back and ask for a new envelope without having to reinterpret commercial meaning itself.
And to guarantee that no one is spoofing these envelopes entirely, like an AI just writing its own approval letter, they are signed with authenticators. The blueprint specifies 2 types, detached ED251 signatures or HMAC SHA-256.
Yes, and the choice between them dictates your trust model and where the envelope is traveling.
Walk me through that.
If you are handing this envelope to an independent, external party like an open AI protocol or a buyer's external wallet, you use a detached ED25519 digital signature. This is asymmetric cryptography.
Meaning?
It allows the external recipient to verify that the envelope definitively came from the merchant using a public key.
Meaning they can mathematically prove it came from the merchant without the merchant ever having to give them the secret password to their system.
Precisely. But if the envelope is only moving internally, say, between the merchant's own tightly controlled checkout service and their own payment dispatcher, an HMAC HHA-256 is sufficient because those internal systems share a secret key.
Okay.
What the blueprint strictly prohibits, however, is using unverified or unsigned envelopes at external or production boundaries.
And speaking of proof, we need to talk about evidence and audit because there's a trap here that a lot of systems fall into. The blueprint is emphatic that you can't just use identifier fingerprints for your evidence.
No, you cannot.
You need explicit SHA-256 content hashes of the actual evidence text. Explain this to me because it sounds like a tiny developer nuance, but the author treats it as a critical system-destroying failure mode. They call it evidence fingerprint masquerading as evidence content.
It is a critical failure mode regarding legal liability. Imagine a decision envelope approves a purchase, and it bases that approval on a specific version of a return policy.
Okay, sounds normal.
If the envelope only references the policy's database ID, say it just logs approved based on policy 42, what happens if the merchant's legal team goes into the database a month later and edits the text of policy 42?
Oh, I see the disaster here. A week after the edit, a customer disputes a charge. They say the AI promised them a full refund. You, the merchant, pull up the audit log. The log points to policy 42.
Right.
But the text of policy 42 in your database right now is completely different than it was when the AI actually made the purchase. History has been overwritten.
Exactly. The evidence has mutated, and you have no way to prove what the AI actually read.
That's a nightmare for the legal department.
To prevent this, every canonical evidence reference inside the decision envelope must carry an explicit SHA 256 hash of the actual text content of the evidence, or a canonical snapshot of it taken at the exact millisecond the decision was made.
So you lock the text in time.
Yes. If the underlying policy document changes a week later, its hash changes, and the audit system instantly knows that the current version of policy 42 is mathematically not the version that supported the historical decision. You need cryptographic proof of exactly what the AI relied upon.
Okay, I have to step in here and push back on behalf of every software engineer listening to this who is currently pulling their hair out.
I'm sure they are.
Because this sounds like an administrative nightmare. Are you seriously telling me that a mid-sized t-shirt brand has to build a cryptographic spine, track 7 axes of text paint, and generate tripartite hashed signatures just to let an AI buy a t-shirt?
It sounds daunting.
Isn't it infinitely easier for a developer to just write an if-then statement? Like, if price is less than 150 and if inventory is greater than 0, then allow checkout. Why go through all this trouble?
It's a fair question, but relying on simple if-then statements at the integration level leads to a fatal flaw the blueprint calls adapter-owned business logic.
Okay, explain that.
Yes, an if-then statement is much easier if you are only building one specific integration for one specific AI. But agentic commerce doesn't have just one integration. Think about a modern merchant.
They have a lot of channels.
You will have an OpenAI ACP adapter, a Google AP2 adapter, a Shopify UCP adapter, a traditional mobile app, an admin dashboard, a customer support portal.
So you have 6 or 7 different doors into the house.
And if every single one of those doors has a developer writing their own custom if-then statements to figure out if a product is available, you will inevitably get massive semantic drift.
Because the developer writing the Google integration might check the warehouse inventory, but the developer writing the OpenAI integration might only check the local cache.
Yeah.
So the Google agent is told yes, the OpenAI agent is told no, and the admin dashboard says the item is entirely out of stock. It's chaos.
It is total operational chaos. The blueprint argues that the correct architectural path must be ergonomically easier for the developer than taking the shortcut.
Make the right way the easy way.
Yes. The developer building the new Google adapter shouldn't have to worry about whether a stale inventory flag blocks a payment or if a specific legal policy is quotable in France. They shouldn't have to write any business logic at all.
They just ask the spine.
They should just ask the decision spine, receive the cryptographically signed canonical decision envelope, and translate that final canonical answer into whatever format the external protocol needs. The spine does the heavy lifting, the adapters just route the truth.
Okay, to bring this incredibly high-level cryptographic architecture down to earth for you, the listener, let's look at the exact reference scenario provided in the source material's GitHub repository.
It's a great example.
It perfectly illustrates how all these layers interact in a real-world setting. Let's walk through the travel backpack scenario.
It's a perfect synthesis of everything we've discussed. Let's set the stage.
Okay, here's the setup. A buyer has an AI agent. The buyer issues a delegated mandate to the agent. I want to buy this specific travel backpack, as long as it's under EUR 150.
Okay.
The agent takes that mandate and goes to the merchant stack to execute the purchase.
Now, let's look at the raw facts sitting in the merchant system at that exact moment.
Right.
The catalog database says the product is active, the price is listed at EUR 129, and the system verifies that price fact is fresh.
So far, so good.
The inventory system says there are 15 backpacks in stock. However, and this is a crucial detail, that inventory fact is flagged as stale.
Meaning what?
Perhaps the warehouse synchronization job failed an hour ago, or it's just a slow batch update? Furthermore, the legal return policy for the travel bags category is currently missing from the database.
Okay, so if we were using the old optimistic, poorly designed system, the API would look at this and say, okay, price is 129. The mandate allows up to 150. 129 is less than 150. Inventory says we have 15. Great. The logic clears. Execute the payment.
It would blindly grab the buyer's money.
But this merchant has built the decision spine.
Right. The spine intercepts this request and runs it through the gauntlet. The external agent asks to delegate payment. The spine begins evaluating the context.
Step 1.
First, it looks at action-specific eligibility. It sees that stale inventory flag. It doesn't crash the server, but it flags the add to cart action as requires revalidation.
Meaning we cannot legally trust this cart until we ping the warehouse and double-check the stock.
Correct. Then it evaluates the policy facts. It discovers the return policy for travel bags is missing.
Uh-oh.
The spine immediately flags the prepare checkout action as unequivocally blocked. You cannot legally construct a binding checkout state for a buyer if you cannot append the applicable return policy to the transaction.
Because the AI can't agree to terms and conditions that don't exist. It's a massive liability.
Precisely. So checkout preparation is blocked. Now the logic flows down to the payment layer. The agent is holding a perfectly valid payment artifact from the buyer, fully funded. But remember our rule. Payment authority is inextricably bounded by checkout state.
Right.
Because prepare checkout is blocked, the checkout state is invalid. Therefore, the request to delegate payment is unequivocally blocked. The money is not moved.
The payment dispatch is stopped cold, not because the credit card declined, but because the commercial truth of the card itself was compromised. It's brilliant.
It protects the buyer and the merchant.
And what happens to the generated claims? The AI probably wanted to send a cheerful message to the buyer saying, I bought your backpack, and returns are super easy.
The spine blocks that too. The show-generated claim action is evaluated. Because the return policy is missing, any derived claim concerning returns inherits that refusal. That is the taint we talked about earlier.
The taint tracks it.
The action returns requires review and mathematically carries an inherited refusal count of 1. The AI is cryptographically gagged from lying to the buyer about a return policy it hasn't seen.
It's a beautiful cascading blockade of safety, but here's the most important part. The system doesn't just throw a 404 error and die.
No, it guides the resolution.
It outputs something in the envelope called next safe actions. It creates a remediation loop. Because the AI is blocked, the system automatically creates an operator task for a human merchant to fix the problem.
This is the operational reality of agentic commerce that many people miss. The next safe actions array in the decision envelope will list very specific, actionable tasks. Attack return policy fact assigned to a legal operator, and refresh inventory facts assigned to the system admin or a warehouse operator.
I have to point out a beautiful irony here for the listener.
What's that?
To build a fully autonomous, hands-off sci-fi AI shopping future, engineers actually have to build incredibly precise, hands-on human workflows to fix the AI's blockers.
It is the ultimate paradox of automation, but it completely validates the core thesis of the blueprint. Agent readiness isn't just a technical feature you toggle on in your settings.
Right.
It's a fundamental quality attribute of your commerce operations. If you don't build these human operator remediation loops, these blockers just become recurring runtime failures.
The AI just gets stuck in a loop.
The AI will try to buy the backpack every day, it will fail every day, and the buyer will just assume the merchant's website is broken and go somewhere else. Human operators are essential to clear the semantic path so the autonomous agents can travel down it safely.
We have covered so much ground today. If you're listening to this and your head is spinning with hashes and state machines, let's zoom out for a second.
Good idea.
We started with a simple everyday prompt. Buy me this travel backpack. And we have walked down into an intricate, cryptographically signed, legally sound, taint-tracking decision spine.
It is a massive transition for the internet. We are moving from an era of presenting visual information for humans to interpret to an era of proving commercial facts for machines to mathematically execute.
And this is why it matters to you, the listener. This blueprint by Dimitrios Spyros isn't just academic theory.
Not at all.
It is the invisible architecture being laid down right now in July 2026 by the biggest companies in the world to dictate exactly how your money moves in the AI era. It is the only thing standing between your personal AI assistant being a helpful concierge and a rogue liability that blindly spends your money on out-of-stock, final sale items with missing return policies.
It is, without a doubt, the foundation of trust for the next decade of digital commerce.
And that leads me to a final provocative thought, something for you to mull over as you go about your week.
Okay, let's hear it.
We've spent this entire deep dive talking about how human merchants are frantically building these architectures to protect themselves and their human buyers from AI agents.
Right.
We talked about envelopes, hashes, and mathematically proving what is true. But think about that canonical decision envelope and what it represents.
Total. Verifiable proof.
What happens in the very near future when our merchant's AI agent starts negotiating directly with your buyer AI agent? If both sides are instantly exchanging cryptographically signed policy facts, verifiable evidence hashes, and mandate parameters in milliseconds, does the very concept of consumer trust shift entirely?
Oh, wow.
Does trust move away from brand reputation, glossy marketing campaigns, and human Yelp reviews, and entirely into the realm of algorithmic mathematical proof? Will you even care about a brand's reputation if your personal AI can mathematically prove their return policy is airtight and their inventory is guaranteed before a single cent leaves your wallet?
It fundamentally changes the entire definition of what a brand is.
It really does. Thank you for joining us on this deep dive. Let that thought simmer next time you plug in your phone and ask it to buy something while you sleep. We'll catch you next time.